Hello everyone. Things which eye has not seen and ear has not heard, and which has not entered the heart of man, all that God has prepared for those who love him. For God revealed these things to us through the Spirit. For the Spirit searches all things, even the depths of God. John writes it in this way. See how great a love the Father has bestowed upon us, that we should be called children of God. And so we are. For this reason, the world does not know us, because it did not know him. Beloved, now we are children of God, and it has not appeared yet what we shall be. We know that when he appears, we will be like him, for we shall see him as he is. Everyone who has this hope in him purifies himself, just as he is pure. If there was a king of a country with several children, and those children just didn't sit around the palace all day, enjoying their riches and their nobility. This king was a very good parent. He raised very honorable children. And these children spent all their time serving the subjects of the king's kingdom. They were out there with all the people of the kingdom, serving them, feeding the poor, helping the sick. What would you think of a king in this world who had children like that? I think you'd think he was a pretty good king. A very benevolent king who raised very honorable children. That's the kind of king our God is. That's the kind of children he raises. We're children of God only insofar as we're led by the Spirit. Those who are led by the Spirit of God, these are the sons of God. And God is not going to reckon us to be his children if we're not led by the Spirit of his Son. God raises honorable children. Children which the subjects of his kingdom will respect. Not children who sit around the palace and just trying to enjoy the riches of the king's kingdom, but children who serve. And we're only really children of God insofar as we serve as Jesus served. I want to read here for you from Paul's letter to the Romans. The Spirit himself testifies with our spirit that we are children of God, because we have the Spirit in us. And if children, heirs also, heirs of God, and fellow heirs with Christ, joint heirs, co-heirs, inheriting what Christ inherited, if indeed we suffer with him. Hebrews 5:8, it says about Jesus, although he was a son, he learned obedience from what he suffered. And he's the author of our salvation because he was perfected through sufferings. If indeed we suffer with him, so that we may also be glorified with him. But our suffering now, carrying our cross now, pales dimly in comparison to the things that God has in store for us. For I consider that the sufferings of this present time are not worthy to be compared with the glory that is to be revealed in us. For the anxious longing of the creation waits eagerly for the revelation of the sons of God. This is a really big deal. For the creation was subjected to futility, not willingly, but because of him who subjected it in hope, that the creation itself also will be set free from its slavery to corruption into the freedom of the glory of the children of God. For we know that the whole creation groans and suffers the pains of childbirth together until now. And not only this, but also we ourselves, having the first fruits of the Spirit, even we ourselves groan within ourselves, because we're part of this creation, waiting eagerly for our sonship, the redemption of our body. Notice carefully what he says there. We're waiting for our sonship. So how is it that we're already God's sons, but we're awaiting this? First of all, that word sonship is often translated as adoption. And what's happened there is that when translators were figuring out how to translate this word, they looked at how this word was used in Roman culture. And the way it was used in Roman culture was when you adopt someone as your son. Okay, but you have to realize that that is the only way a human being can make someone else your son. And it's not as if God goes, okay, I pick you or I accept you as my son, like an adoption. The children of God are those who have died to their life into which they were born, their natural human life. And they're begotten of God, born of God. That's why God is their own father. That's how God makes children. He begets them. Just as your earthly father and mother begot you in your natural life, God begets you when you're born again. He begets you. You're born of God. It's not just an adoption procedure where God goes to the adoption agency and just said, okay, I'll take you. No, you're born of God. But he says here, we're waiting for this sonship, the redemption of our body. Why is he saying that? Well, if you look at Acts 13:30-33, Paul applies the second psalm. You are my son. Today I have begotten you, to Jesus' resurrection. And the idea there is that Jesus was born and Jesus died. So in order for him to live again, he had to be born again, begotten again into a new life. And that's what happened when he rose from the dead. And that's why we can be born again in him, in the resurrection life of Jesus, into the risen Jesus. You see, he's how we can do that, because he did that himself. What Paul's getting at here is that we're children of God only insofar as we're led by the Spirit and obeying the leading of the Spirit of God, the leading of the Spirit of God's Son in us, the Spirit of Jesus. It's a matter of function. Okay? Technically, you don't have a new nature. You're walking according to a new nature, which is the Spirit. We get our new natures when we're raised from the dead. And that's why he's talking this way. We're waiting for our sonship, the redemption of our body. And that's when we become in what we are in our being, the substance of what we are, our stuff. We become sons of God. Peter says we're partakers of the divine nature. And that's when that happens, the resurrection of the body. So at the moment, It's just a matter of function. We died to our old way of life and the way we functioned. We're born again into a new way of life in the way we function. Okay? You're still mortal. You're going to die. You still got the same flesh. So it's not, a matter of being. It's a matter of doing. The being comes at the resurrection. It's a verb thing, not a noun thing. And so many people think it's just a status deal. And Paul quashes that at Romans 2 when he's talking to the Jews. No, it's not by your status. God judges by works without favoritism. Don't be pulling out your status card before God on Judgment Day. God's going to decide based on what you did. But what God has in store for those who follow his Son is unimaginable. It's mind-boggling. What God has in store for us is so glorious, but it's for those who serve. And that's also what Paul's getting at in Philippians 2. When he's telling the Philippians, and you kind of can't see it in the English language, but he's using the language of nobility versus a commoner in there. It doesn't come out in the English translation very good. He's telling the Philippians not to get in their high horse because they're children of God, but to serve one another as if everyone else is more important than you. And then he uses Jesus as an example. Look at how Jesus humbly served. That's what a true son is. One who is now serving. Now serving. And it is those who have the Spirit in them, the first fruits of the Spirit, who are eagerly longing for the redemption of their body, their sonship. God gives the Holy Spirit to those who obey him, as Peter says. God is raising honorable children. God's a good parent. He disciplines, and he raises the best children. He doesn't raise spoiled brats who go around doing what they want, i.e. sin. Right? God raises good children. Honorable children. Respectful children. Children worthy of receiving glory in the redemption of the body. Just meditate on how glorious it is what God is going to give us if we serve him. Children of the King of Kings. We live in the household of the King of the universe. It doesn't get any better than that. It doesn't get any better than that. And all the kings of this earth right now, when Jesus returns, they're going to be bowing down before him, confessing Jesus is Lord. And we read that we ourselves will even be judging the angels. It's mind-boggling. It's staggering. Unimaginable. God has great rewards. Jesus showed us how in his walk. But he does not leave us alone now, with a correspondence course on how to do it like he did it. He's the good shepherd. His sheep know his voice. They hear him and they follow him. He leads them even now. He shows them the way. God bless you.